The duel before the court. The throne chamber of Vael'Shara shimmered with gold-veined stone and banners woven from the silk of sky serpents. 100 nobles stood in silence, their eyes locked on the blood-red arena carved into the marble floor. At the head of the chamber, Empress Vael'Shara watched from her obsidian throne, expression carved from years of ruling with fire and iron. Opposite her, under a canopy of alien light, stood the emissaries of Earth, the humans. She had expected more. More armor, more ceremony, more presence. But the human champion stood barefoot. His name was Elias Morrow, and he was a stark contrast to the ornate, muscle-bound warriors of the Scythery. Lean, weathered, clad in nothing but a matte black uniform and a long coat frayed from battle. No helmet, no visible weapon, just a faint hum of tension in the air around him. Is this mockery? Vael'Shara's voice echoed through the chamber. No, came the reply from the Terran envoy. This is the chosen champion of Earth, Captain Elias Morrow. Snickers erupted across the Scythery court. General Riekthal, standing 7.5 feet tall, stepped into the dueling circle. His armor gleamed with obsidian plates etched in lightning runes. 2 curved plasma blades hummed in his hands. Let this farce end quickly, Riekthal growled. Elias rolled his shoulders, said nothing. Vael'Shara leaned forward. This duel, invoked by the ancient Pact of Iron, was meant to settle the trade dispute with Earth. She had been ready to intimidate them with Scythery might. Instead, this human stood before them like a peasant farmer. The court priest lifted a golden staff. By law of the Pact, a duel to submission or death. No interference. No mercy. May honor guide your blades. The staff struck the floor. Riekthal charged. To his credit, he didn't hesitate. His first strike was a blur of crackling plasma, aimed to decapitate. But the human moved. No, he disappeared, shifting sideways with an unnatural grace. The blade kissed air. A heartbeat. Then the sound. Shick. Riekthal stumbled. Froze. A clean, perfect line now bisected his armor from collar to waist. His body held shape for a moment longer. Then gravity caught up. Gasps choked the chamber as the Scythery champion split in half. Neatly, surgically. One half fell forward, the other backward. Elias stood at the center, arm extended. Something hissed back into the socket of his forearm. A blade, impossibly thin, retracting. Silence. Not one scream. Just the soft drip of steaming blood on stone. Elias turned and faced the throne. His face was impassive, like he'd swatted a fly. Vael'Shara stood, fists clenched. Her lips parted, but no words came. Her mind reeled, not from the loss, but the precision, the restraint. He could have made it ugly. He chose not to. By the old law, the court priest rasped, voice trembling. The victor claims dominion over the defeated's household. The Empress, her handmaidens, her bondsworn, all are his to command. The Empress's eyes narrowed. You dare invoke the concubine accord? I don't want your throne, Elias replied calmly. But your law is your law. The court murmured in horror. The Empress of the Scythery, forced into servitude? This was unthinkable, but it was not unprecedented. The pact had been written in blood long before most of the stars had even formed. You could refuse, Elias added, voice low, but the galaxy would see it as dishonor. A broken pact. War would follow. Her pride screamed for defiance. But even in this humiliation, she saw the trap. If she defied the law, she'd lose the respect of the Dominion and her empire. If she accepted it, she'd be a prisoner in silken chains. Either way, Earth would win. She stared at him. You planned this. No, Elias said. I adapted. Vael'Shara's jaw tightened. She turned to her maids, 5 deadly women, trained in war and etiquette alike. None dared speak. Very well, she said finally. The law will be honored. She descended from her throne and knelt, not in submission, but in fury contained by duty. Behind her, her maids followed suit. Elias stood unmoved. Victory was his, but his expression didn't show pride, only calculation, as though this was one move in a much longer game. The chains of honor. The Empress and her handmaidens were escorted in silence through the cold, angular corridors of the Blackthorn. The Terran vessel felt like a machine more than a ship. No ornate design, no banners, no silk drapes or perfumed air. Just steel, and gravity that pulled harder than the Sithri norm. Captain Elias Morrow walked ahead of them, flanked by 2 Terran Marines. His coat swayed with every step, silent but present, like a reaper's shadow. Vael'Shara had not spoken since boarding. Her 5 handmaidens marched behind her, heads high. There was Viri, ever defiant, with eyes like volcanic glass. Tarnea, tall and pale, who read a room faster than any diplomat. Kessa, quiet and cruelly observant. Minali, the youngest, her fear poorly hidden. And Jalsari, her blade maid, who had once killed 3 assassins with a broken wine glass. Now, by law, they were the property of a human. A human. The group entered a private conference chamber, bare walls, a large metal table, utilitarian chairs. Elias turned to face them, arms crossed. His eyes met Vael'Shara's. "You are not prisoners," he began. "And I didn't ask for this." "Then why accept it?" she snapped. "Because refusing your law would spark a war. And trust me, Empress, I've seen how your kind fights. You're not ready for what Earth can do." Vael'Shara's eyes narrowed. "You think you're merciful." "No," Elias said flatly. "I think I'm efficient." The silence that followed was colder than the room itself. "You are now considered part of my household under Sithri law," he continued. "That includes rights, obligations, and protections. You'll be given quarters, access to information. You will not be mistreated unless you make it necessary." Ziri stepped forward, fists clenched. "We are not pets to be fed and housed. Human." Elias met her glare without flinching. "You try to kill me, I'd cut you in half. Same rules apply here." "You dare." Ziri lunged, not for the throat. She went for the waist, aiming to unbalance him, fast and low. A move designed for giants like Riekthal. But Elias wasn't a giant. He was human. She didn't even see him move. One twist, one redirection, and Ziri hit the deck face first. Her arm was locked behind her back, Elias's boot between her shoulder blades. "First and last warning," he said quietly. Vael'Shara stepped forward. "Release her." He did, without hesitation. Ziri staggered up, breathing hard. Not in pain, just from rage. "She's alive." "That's mercy," Elias said, brushing off his coat. "I need allies, not corpses. But I won't apologize for surviving." He turned to Vael'Shara. "Your laws put us in this situation. So here's mine. You will not be harmed while under my protection. You will be treated with respect as long as you give it. And if we refuse," Vael'Shara asked coldly, "then you're free to walk into the void." The threat hung in the air, thick and unpolished. For the first time, Jalsari spoke. "He is not like the others." "No," Vael'Shara murmured. "He is not." Later, in their new quarters, stark but surprisingly spacious, the handmaidens sat around a circular table. None touched the food provided. It smelled like rations from a battlefield. Minali spoke first, barely above a whisper. He didn't even gloat. Ziri scoffed. "Because he knows he's a monster. There's no pride in being one." "He's disciplined," Jalsari said. "He had every reason to humiliate us." "He didn't." "That frightens me more," Tarnea added. "A brute is predictable. This one calculates, measures, strikes only once." Vael'Shara stared at the wall, her mind replaying the duel. That perfect surgical kill, the refusal to mock, the knowledge of her laws, her customs, even how to use them against her. Humans had always been spoken of as primitives, survivors from a backwater world. But Elias had played the game better than anyone in her court. And now, by law and tradition, she belonged to him. Not in body, not yet, but in legacy, in politics, in symbolism. She clenched her fist. This human is more than a warrior. He's a weapon, and we are in his sheath. Her handmaidens fell silent. "Then we must decide," she said finally. "Will we be tools, or will we become the hand that guides the blade?" No one answered, but none of them looked away. The war they didn't plan for. The call came while Elias was reviewing intelligence reports in the Blackthorn's war room. 3 enemy fleets, All Scytheri were en route, fast, coordinated, and bristling with power signatures. "They're not coming for a diplomatic visit," Lieutenant Vael muttered, eyes flicking across the holographic display. "No," Elias replied. "They're coming for Vael'Shara." The Empress, standing nearby, folded her arms across her armored chest. "My cousin, Lord Valthrin. He's always coveted my seat. Now he sees an opportunity. He'll frame this as a rescue, spin it as my abduction." Elias studied her for a moment. "You could stop this. Tell them you submit willingly." Vael'Shara's jaw tightened. "And appear weak to the Dominion? Never. If I bow to you and cower before him, I lose everything." Elias turned to his officers. "Options. 3 fleets. They're outgunned, but if they swarm us in low orbit, they'll force a landing. Planetfall would turn into trench warfare," Vael said. "We could jump," offered Commander Ngoro. "Leave orbit, retreat." Elias shook his head. "That confirms the narrative. Human kidnaps royal, flees justice. We stay. We fight." Vael'Shara blinked. "You're choosing my throne over your own safety?" "I'm choosing a message it sends," Elias replied. "You bent the knee to earth. If we let someone else undo that, we look weak." There was silence. And then let me help you defend it." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Help? I know Valthrin's tactics. His fleet captains. Their egos. Let me and my handmaidens infiltrate the command ship. Sow confusion. Stall them long enough for your fleet to strike." Ziri stepped forward beside her Empress. "We've served on the battlefield before, Terran. We are not ornaments." "You sure this isn't a ploy?" Elias asked bluntly. "If I wanted your throat, you'd already be bleeding," Vael'Shara said. "You need me now, just as I needed you." Elias paused, then nodded once. "Then suit up, all of you." An hour later, in orbit above the scarred moon of Thavos, battle began. Valthrin's fleet descended like vultures, 3 spearhead formations angling toward the Blackthorn, confident in their numbers, their traditions, and their arrogance. But they did not expect human brutality. Terran warships didn't glide, they punched. Missiles laced with dark matter ripped through shield formations. Autocannons shredded elegant Scytheri hulls like tinfoil. Where Scytheri fleets danced with grace, humans brawled with cruelty. Amid the chaos, a stealth drop pod pierced the side of the enemy flagship. Inside, Vael'Shara and her handmaidens emerged like shadows. No ornamental gowns now, only combat armor, serrated daggers, and neural disruptors. They moved like wolves in enemy halls. Minali planted jammers in the comm nodes. Tarnea hacked into the Admiralty logs. Jalsari and Ziri took out guards in synchronized silence. And Vael'Shara confronted Valthrin himself, blaster in hand. He laughed at first, until she shot his kneecap. By the time the flagship's systems went dark, the Blackthorn was already boarding the Second Fleet carrier. Scytheri vessels, confused by conflicting orders and internal sabotage, began turning on each other in panic. From the command deck, Elias watched it unfold. "Sir," Vael said, "Scytheri ships are breaking formation. They think the Empress is dead or compromised," Ngoro added. "They've lost cohesion." Elias gave a single nod. "Push the advantage. No survivors on command ships." Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. Wreckage drifted in orbit. Fires burned in artificial atmosphere. And the Blackthorn stood victorious. In the infirmary, Elias found Vael'Shara with blood on her armor, a burn across her cheek, and a detached calm of someone who had just killed her own kin. "You did it," he said. She looked at him, tired but sharp. "We did it." "I thought you'd try to take your throne back," Elias said. "I did," she replied, "but not by killing you. I had that chance." He gave a small nod. "You showed loyalty." She tilted her head. "So did you." The silence between them was different now. Not tension, but recognition. "I will speak to the Dominion," Vael'Shara said. "Frame this as justice, not rebellion." Elias leaned on the doorway. "And the concubine accord?" Her lips quirked. "It stays, but not as a leash, as a chain of alliance, one they'll all be forced to respect." He studied her, not just a dethroned royal anymore, a tactician, a survivor, a leader, and maybe something more. He extended a hand. Partners, then. She took it. The Empress, the weapon, and the world to come. 6 days after the battle above Thavos, the Sithri High Dominion convened. Representatives from 12 star systems, cloaked in shimmering robes and ancient authority, gathered in the great spire of Atharuan, a structure older than half their empire. It floated above an ocean of flame, a symbol of unity and control. They expected Vael'Shara to arrive in chains. Instead, she entered with Elias Morrow at her side. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Whispers followed. The Empress had returned, not as a prisoner nor as a dethroned relic, but as a sovereign flanked by her so-called conqueror. Her maids followed in military formation, not decorum. Their armor still bore scorch marks. Their faces wore pride. A Dominion elder, cloaked in blue fire silk, stood from the central dais. This assembly recognizes Empress Vael'Shara, presumed captured, now returned. Explain your status. Vael'Shara raised her chin. I was not captured. I abided by the law of the pact. I was claimed in honorable combat and served under Terran command. You served? A delegate spat. You shamed the stars. No, she said coldly. I upheld the stars. Valthrin broke sacred protocol. He launched an illegal assault on a Terran envoy. He weaponized kinship to stage a coup. I stopped him. With Terran aid, she turned to Elias. Captain Morrow honored our law, our customs, even when it placed me above his interests. He did not enslave me. He protected the dignity of our pact. Another delegate hissed. You allow yourself to be called concubine, and yet I command legions, she replied smoothly. Is that not the essence of Sithri power? Dominance, not of flesh, but of influence. Elias remained silent, eyes steady, watching the crowd shift uncomfortably. He didn't need to speak. His presence was the message. The High Chancellor finally spoke, an ancient being whose skin flickered with bioluminescent veins. Then declare your terms. Empress, is this union permanent? Vael'Shara stepped forward. By law and conquest, I am bonded to the Terran captain. I retain my throne, but I bind the Dominion to a shared path. Earth is no longer a fringe world. It is now our equal. Its military doctrine will be studied, its alliances respected, and the concubine accord? She smiled, dangerous and regal. It is no longer a shackle. It is precedent. Later, aboard the Blackthorn, Elias stood in the observation bay, watching the endless stars wheel past. Vael'Shara joined him, silent for a moment. The glass reflected her faintly, her eyes tracing his expression. You hate politics, she said. I hate theater, he replied. Then why did you play your parts so well? He looked at her. Because I didn't want Earth to fight another war. I wanted to win without firing again. She tilted her head. You played me like a diplomat. Predicted my response. Used my laws against me. Then used my honor to build a bridge. Elias didn't deny it. Vael'Shara stepped closer. So why didn't you ever take what the law gave you? Me. My handmaidens. We were yours by right. He turned toward her fully. Because people aren't things. You're not loot. You're leaders. Warriors. I didn't need slaves. I needed you to choose to stand beside me. She studied him for a long time. We were raised to fear your kind, she murmured. Savage. Uncivilized. Dangerous. Most of that's true, Elias said dryly. And yet, in one strike you took down my champion. In one maneuver, you turned a force bond into a political alliance. In one battle, you turned me into your ally. She paused, then added, and you did it without ever touching me. Elias looked into her eyes, calm and unflinching. I didn't come for an empire. I came to make sure Earth didn't become your next conquest. But I saw something worth building. She was quiet for a while. Then she offered her hand, not in submission, not in ceremony, in choice. He took it. Far away, in Sithri military academies, cadets would study the Battle of Thavos as a lesson in asymmetric warfare. In Terran schools, it would be taught as the beginning of a new interstellar era. But in whispered stories told across both species, it was remembered differently. The Empress who knelt by law, and the human who made her rise by will.